Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we are talking about Starcraft, the newest tabletop miniatures game coming from Archon Studio. And join with me is Archon Studio CEO Jarek Ewertowski. Hi, Jarek. How are you today? And thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and I'm good, thank you. It's a wonderful day, especially for Starcraft. I just finished doing a couple engineering tools for Hydra, so they're going to be tooling very, very quickly, and yeah, so quite exciting time for us.
Wonderful, wonderful. For people who aren't familiar with Archon Studio, we're going to talk about the game a little bit, but can you give us a quick overview of the company and what you guys have been doing?
So we're based in Poland. The Archon was established roundabout in 2014. We're quite a unique company comparing to any other company out there because we have our own manufacturing. And when I say manufacturing, I mean plastic injection manufacturing. There is a nice video from our company done in collaboration with Squigma, where we show the entire manufacturing process, and how we actually make models and miniatures. So that's actually what makes us very, very unique. We don't have to rely on a third-party suppliers, and with the growth of the business, we are getting more and more processes in, including paper processing, so on. We are operating very heavily within the IP games, or different type of IPs games, right? So we have board games. Most not disabled will be Heroes. We have Master of Orion IP. In the past, Wolfenstein. So that's what we basically do. We specialize in that. We also have our own games, our own IPs we are currently working on to be released in the next year, I think so next year. We need to first handle the Starcraft. And yeah, so quite boring. We do have almost 100, more than 100, 112 employees altogether.
Oh, wow. Okay, excellent.
With 40 engineers on site, so about 10 sculptors and so on. So it's a quite large operation nowadays. We provide services, manufacturing services for other companies. So you probably have seen sprues from us if you play war game. I mean, Conquest from Parambellum, Mantic, GF9, and many other companies which they changing their manufacturing process. The plastic injection is actually coming from our house, from our factory.
Okay, excellent. So let's transition a little bit more into StarCraft specifically. I know, as an older gamer, I kind of cut my teeth on the first StarCraft, and as well as StarCraft 2. Awesome world. And when I saw this announcement, I was very excited. What can you tell us about this game? Is this more of a board game or a skirmish, like a miniatures war game? Like, is it going to use a board? What can you tell us about, like, an overview of the StarCraft tabletop miniatures game?
The license for StarCraft actually covers several games. So in our initial announcement, we said we're going to start with tabletop miniatures game. However, in the future, there will be also a board game from that universe. A board game release is round about planned at least for 2027, maybe 2028. We'll see how fast we can actually get it out there. But going back to tabletop miniatures game, it will be a war game, specifically war game. So the size of the table and size of the miniatures and squads, I would say the default settings for the game, let's call it that way, for the table dimensions are 33 inches by 66 inches. So you have like two X-wing maps kind of on a table. We want to do that way because we want to make sure that it's actually going to fit on a so-called kitchen table size.
Right.
That's that. In terms of miniatures counts, depending on obviously points, but the default will be for, let's call it 2,000 points.
Mm-hmm.
And that should give you around about 40 miniatures per side, depending on the faction, obviously. I would say for Terran faction would be about 30 to 40 miniatures. Zerg would be obviously a little bit more miniatures, and for Protoss, that's the only one faction which will have less miniatures on the table. Yeah.
So are we looking at now? You talked about the playmat size. Is that something where basically you guys will be offering like a specific playmat? Is it going to be like a hex playmat, or is it going to be a game where it's like you players you come up with your own play surface?
Okay, so both actually. So one is starter box. We planning to add a playmat from a specific planet with terrain from specific planet. cannot mention yet because we haven't shown yet which one planet is it. And which map, because the whole concept and idea is to provide quite a lot of terrain in the future, including the map itself, so 90 by 90. It's not squared, there is no squares, there's no hexes whatsoever. It's just open measurement system. However, we have to give that theme, we have to give that thingy which makes Starcraft. So you will get entire portfolio of things from the Starcraft, from the miniatures, from gameplay, which we try to translate as much as possible the video game into tabletop, and then visual aspects. So you have a terrain, map, and everything else. Obviously, you can play on any size of tables you want. This is what we say in a board gaming, so the default will be that size. The starter box, two-player starter box, will give you a smaller version of the game. So this is like an introductory version of the game, which then you play on a X-Wing size of map. So that is 30, if I'm correct, because I know it is 90 by 90 centimeters. Sorry, I'm operating centimeters, but I think it's 33 by 33 inches. Or 35 by 35, sorry.
So just a little smaller than the typical X-Wing map, but if that's what you wanted to use, that would feel very similar.
That's kind of also requirements from stores, to be honest. We did a lot of survey across the stores, and they said, look, if you want to just put this game on our shelf and also on our tables, please make it also a smaller version, just to get people start the game introductionally. Although I'm not saying it's going to be cut out version of the game. It's actually full game. However, you play on a small map, and then the full experience will be on a bigger battles, bigger map. That's what I call default version. Yeah, a default.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's a good summary of it. And I think that's an important thing for a game to be able to play on a smaller surface, but also be expandable to a larger surface. Now, is this going to be strictly a two-player game, or are there other options for more than two?
Oh yeah, definitely more than two. So we just tested the other week, 2 versus 2. It's amazing. It's a blast. Really
wonderful. So you mentioned the StarCraft experience, and one thing that I always thought of as the StarCraft experience that maybe doesn't translate as well in a lot of modern board games is resource management and collecting gas and mining crystals and things like that. Is that going to be part of this game, or yes or yeah? Is that something that we're going to be doing in this game?
It must be. So obviously, I'm happy to talk about the rules, but you have to bear in mind this is all subject to change. But during development of the rules, we decided to have, like in normal games, obviously in the board gaming, 2 different avenues of rules. Let's call them that way. One is the narrative play. The other one is fully matched play. For the narrative play, definitely you're gonna do all the things you will find in StarCraft. So minerals gathering, building, even you expanding your bases and building, adding additional buildings, depending on the narrative mission, depending on the conditions of this mission, obviously.
Okay.
For the matched play, it's slightly different. So at the moment, what we're testing at this stage, and it's a pre-alpha version, so again, subject to change, is you have a specific point, minerals point value to spend on your models, miniatures, including upgrades, and then you have a gas, and that gas could be spent on buildings. Obviously, buildings, we're going to use cards as a buildings, and those buildings give you different type of effects. So it's slightly different than you will find in any other war games, but we really have to introduce this one into the war game. It's a kind of board game-ish mechanic. However, it's been used previously by other games, something similar, and we feel it's actually give you a lot of what StarCraft is about. So when it comes to army building, you just have to decide what type of buildings you're going to start with. And then obviously what type of army is going to be associated with these buildings. So the specific buildings give you different type of abilities to start or activate. Have a look. Okay, sorry.
No, so it sounds like so the resources are there for the narrative play, but if in matched play in a standard game, that they'll be used primarily to aid in list building.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Excellent. No, I think that's a very clever way to do it. So is this, a lot of games use dice. Some games use cards. Is this one going to be using cards or dice or both? And can you talk about those a little bit?
So the cards is only for the army building and the base building. Obviously, you have to use dice. At the moment, we are leaning towards D6 dice. We did test the different. We did test the custom-made dice, There's a small problems with custom-made dice. One of the reasons why we're going to have to go with D6 dice is basically supply. As I mentioned, we are a company which supplies everything here, and we cannot rely on the third-party companies. And mainly, this is what kills many war games: not having products on the line, or not having basically products in the stores, because you have to wait for the third-party company to supply that product to you. So we want to really avoid those things. And one of the things to avoid is basically not going into this madness. I call this madness of custom dice and being supplied from China and so on and so on. I mean,
Yeah,
at this stage, it's
absolutely.
only China who makes them. So we can get supply D6 in from Europe, or maybe even manufacture here on site in our own factory. So that will at least give us, make sure that we have a product in stock constantly, right? So
And excellent.
that's
And that's something that players can leverage too, because again, established wargamers, there's a pretty good chance they're going to have a lot of extra D6s. And if you want to customize, I want to use my blue dice, I want to use my green dice, you can maybe find extra dice to customize your army a little bit more too.
Exactly. That was the other factor. When we just like our brainstorming here and we discussed about what type of dice we want to use. I mean, we don't want to kind of use custom dice, because then there is a dice sharing element. So in a starter box, you would need to have X amount of dice for both players. Otherwise, you just kind of have to share. Nobody wants to share the dice.
Right.
So
Right.
I think, and the other thing, I mean, there's lots of people out there who actually, they have their own favorite D6 dice and they want to use them in a game. So obviously, that's what we want to do. Yeah.
Excellent. So as far as like size of miniatures, like what kind of scale are we looking at here? Like 28 millimeter, 35 millimeter, somewhere in between, or?
It's, I would say, is a 32 millimeter scale.
Okay, so very familiar to a lot of wargamers. That's like similar to maybe similar to like Star Wars Legion in size, maybe a little bit larger than that, maybe.
Yeah. Just,
Okay.
Star Wars Legion's got a little bit different scale. I think the Star
It's
Wars Legion, it's about almost 40, something like that.
something like that. Yeah, I mean, from the photos that I've seen, it reminds me a little bit of like maybe Marvel Crisis Protocol or Star Wars Shatterpoint in that scale, or similar to 40K, or kind of in that ballpark. So, because it can sometimes be hard to tell when you're looking at the pictures. Hey, are these 10 millimeter? Are these going to be a little bit larger? So it looks like a little bit on the larger scale, so you really be able to see the detail.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Now, as far as you talked a little bit about like somewhere around 40 40 miniatures per side or so. So that gives us an idea. What types of characters are we going to expect? Because there's a lot of heroes, but there's also a lot of nameless characters. Or if I've seen it in the video game, is it going to be in here? And how far does that extend? Like what about vehicles as well?
Yeah. So we will have portion vehicles. Obviously, we cannot make the biggest one.
No battle cruiser.
Okay, battle cruiser crate. Obviously, they won't fit on a table.
Stretch goals.
Yeah. That won't be crowdfunding, by the way. So Starcraft is going to stores straight away.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a pure pre-order. Okay, we're gonna go there in a second.
Okay, sure.
Let's talk about the miniatures first. So definitely vehicles. The smaller vehicles, obviously. The larger vehicles, we're probably going to have to use them on cards. So they will give you some specific benefits when you have them. It's like a building. So Overlords, for instance, we do have a card for Overlord at this version of the game, and that card allows you to do all the things which Overlord does. So transport, either the transportation or reveal whenever the unit is hidden, or in our case, it's either barrow or cloaked. That's about the miniatures, really. So you will find them, and about the heroes and so on. Yes, everything you have found in the canon, but also only official canon, you will find as a miniature. So the one picture we shown with Raynor and Kerrigan, this is some of the miniatures you will find definitely. But we want to make also sub-factions. So when it comes to sub-factions, we need to choose those heroes which are going to be like Raynor is a sub-faction to Terran Confederate. Yeah. So that's what it is. That's what we plan to do. It's going to be quite hard.
That sounds really interesting. I think maybe that's a good segue. Now you guys have been very gracious. We have a spoiler image to talk about a little bit. And so, since we're talking about the miniatures, I think that would be pretty cool. So, for you guys watching at home, first time you're ever going to see this image, and this is a little bit more. And Jarek, maybe you can tell us a little bit about this, and we're going to bring it up right now. So this is a really cool picture showing a space marine, and looks like those are are they zerglings that he's
Yes,
fighting?
that's correct. Yes.
Excellent, excellent. So this is probably giving you an idea of how you're gonna multiple zerglings to equal out to one space marine, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is going
So,
on in this photo here? Is this
so
is this a hero, or is this more of a generic space marine? Or
oh no, that's generic Space Marine. So you will have options of weapons on the Space Marines to choose from. Obviously, that's one thing. The other thing is this is actually it's not physical model. This is basically rendered for the model, but some very interesting you can see elements. You can see it's how we're going to be using a clear plastic. So for people who buy our products, they know we have this great technology for clear plastic. So what we thought about is actually add quite a lot of clear plastic elements to our miniatures. So in this case, you can see Marine with the face shield. So that it's going to be also available in clear plastic. So you're going to be able to attach this one and remove this one, like kind of like Lego. Lego's got this the face shield thingy.
absolutely, yeah. And
Same you can see on a
and so and are these going to come on a sprue? We'll have to. Will these?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So
There's going to be
painting won't be a
more.
problem because you can always put that face shield on last, right?
Oh yeah, obviously yes, and
Okay.
there's going to be more clear plastic elements. I will just leave it for the official release. But same here for the Zerglings. As you can see, the wings on the Zerglings, they're actually clear plastic as well.
No, that's real. That's going to look really cool. So this is really exciting. Thank you guys for sharing, and I'm definitely looking forward to more. Definitely love to see some more of the Protoss. They were probably my favorite faction. Love to see some of those Zealots, and and gosh, there's a lot. I'm very excited about a lot of it. So thank you guys for sharing that. That looks really cool. Let's talk a little bit about. So we talked a little bit about miniatures are going to come on a sprue. So again, this is going to be a hobby. You're going to have to put them together, and you can paint them if you want to, which I think most of us would probably want to do. You talked about terrain a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about how terrain is going to work in this game?
Like in any other game, so basically it provides you cover whenever you're about to receive damage, and it's a line of sight blocker as well.
Okay.
So we have to use the Starcraft got the nice rules for terrain. Actually, they have the platform terrain, like kind of platform rules. Whenever a unit on the platform, it's either receiving less damage or most of the cases you just have a 50% chance of dodge the attack in terms of video game, right? So we're also going to be translating this one into the game, into the tabletop miniatures games as well, as a rule. So yeah, and for the terrain, obviously it's going to be very thematic, so it's going to be very, very oriented about the planet and about section of the map you play on. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm really excited to actually show you more, but I cannot yet because we still have to get get fully painted and so on and so on. I mean, one of the reasons why we're not showing materials at the moment online is because we want to make sure that everything is fully painted and like kind of like a level of GW, especially for this product. So we don't want to show renders. We just rather go to. I mean, we did just show it to you and give you some sneaky peek, but in general, we want to go for a fully painted miniatures and have them on the table and show exactly the final product how it's going to look instead of showing renders. Yeah.
Okay, I know, excellent, great answer. And I think you're absolutely right. Sometimes renders work great, but at the same time, it works best, I think, if you also have the physical models to showcase.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit. You mentioned this is going to be coming to retail, so I think this is a great opportunity to talk about how are players going to get this in their hand? What does a buy-in option look like? Are we looking at like a single starter? Are we looking at individual army starters, sub-faction starters? What can you tell us about that right now?
Okay, so initially what we plan to do towards the end of the year, there's going to be pre-order through the website, which is called starcrafttcm.com, tcmg.com, and there you will find a 2-player starter box, so 2 factions in one starter box, and then the 3rd faction will be in a separate box as a standalone faction. And then there will be section also of different type of add-ons units. So those add-ons, those miniatures you'll find in the starter box will be also part of the add-on, and this section of few heroes. So this is what we want to start with. So the release plan, it's long. We're looking at maybe minimum 6 years of releases.
That's a pretty big release schedule too. So you've got a lot of plans for this game.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, you have to bring. I mean, people say, "Oh, it's only 3 factions." It's not only 3 factions. It's a lot of sub factions and also big elements which could be also used as a faction. So hybrids, for instance, right? So it might happen. I cannot say more about this because there's lots of things happening behind the scene. But in general, there will be enough content to make sure that we have at least 6 to 9 years releases of this product, and then we can do like GW kind of is doing refresh everything and so on, so on, so on.
Okay.
So,
I have to ask. I mean, it seems like it's an obvious question, but I have to ask anyway. Since your company is named Archon, and of course that is one of the most recognizable Protoss units, are we going to see Archons from Archon?
yeah, definitely. I mean, the Archon name is actually coming from Starcraft. When
Is
we
that
started,
true? Really?
it is. It is. In actually, first page of our incorporate. I mean, there's lots of memes in our company about the Starcraft over the years because I would keep saying to my team, "Oh, one day we're gonna do Archon." I will send you one picture, one photo from a long, long time ago when I was like a big boy, and my team for the birthday they made me like a nice T-shirt saying "Soon in Archon." That was like 2017, 18, something like that, long, long time ago. Because I was keep saying, you know what? At one day we're gonna make a Starcraft game.
That's really cool.
So, but yeah, the name is actually coming from that. So it's coming from the Starcraft. So yeah.
So is this sort of one of those goals, like a bucket list item or something, like to be able to actually finally create Starcraft a miniatures game?
Oh yes, even the clear plastic process here we have in the factory was designed in order to, if you're going to make Starcraft in the future, you have to make Archon miniature. So that Archon miniature is like a glowing, ball of energy, right, and some armor on it. So we need that clear plastic technology in order to actually make Archon. So Archon, and that's what we did. We designed that process just for that one.
That's really cool.
We use that in our miniatures. This is not Starcraft, obviously, miniature, but this is one of our miniatures.
Right.
And then you can see that clear plastic there. It's a nice material, and you can make in different colors. Obviously, this one is red one. We can make this clear. So like that one, for instance, right? So.
No, absolutely. And if people watching have seen some of the like my Adepticon footage, we showcased some of the amazing stuff that you guys have there as well, and I'll link to that later on, but at the end of the video. But very, very cool stuff. I from what I have seen, and I've reviewed some of your guys' stuff on my channel, you guys have really high quality plastic. And I think the fact that it's made in house is really cool. So and I think that's maybe a good segue into like one of my final questions. As I am I'm a reviewer in the United States. A lot of my customers, not all of them, but a lot of them are here in the United States. And of course, we have a big tariff situation right now, and things are unpredictable and kind of unstable. Do you anticipate any problems, with shipping and fulfilling orders to the United States because of that?
So there's two things. One is so-called demo minis, depending on how demo minis will evolve. Because as you might know, if you buy the product from European company, but made in Europe, obviously, then when you go to the border, and if the value of the order is below $800, you shouldn't pay any taxes whatsoever. So that's fine. So because the product is made in Poland, so obviously that's all okay. And the other thing is basically the current discussion about the tariffs between the EU and USA. And depending on the level of tariffs, we already got in line several different distributors. We work as a partners, obviously, on different sales scenarios. But if the tariff is going to be quite large, we are ready to establish ourselves also as a company, at least as a warehousing company in the United States. So I've been there, like on Gen Con, I've been there. I'm going to be there during the Gen Con time as well, but also going to fly to a few places just to see warehouses and so on. So it's kind of it is about time anyway for us, because we like 40% of our sales is going to the United States anyway, and it's a quite big chunk. So I think it's about time to have the warehouse in the United States anyway. There is more partners which want to do that with us at the same time. So that will basically help us with leveraging at least the final bill in terms of tariffs. Okay. So we have a few plans. We have a few plans in mind. So shouldn't be affected.
Good. I mean, it's good to see people are keeping these things in mind, especially when things are so difficult to predict. So I think we all have to stay flexible, and I appreciate the forethought that's gone into that.
I mean, the main problem at the moment, the companies which actually having, and we can see it right now as a manufacturing company, we see a lot of big boys, like really big boys coming to us and kind of asking or starting production with us. And I can't mention names, but you know them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We've definitely
So,
seen a lot of the ups and downs with all of this,
yeah,
or mostly the
yeah.
downs. But
Yeah, and
yeah,
those companies want to move production to Europe or USA because of tariffs. Obviously, 55% on tariffs on anything coming from China. It's kind of, as you can see, the other companies, like Asmodee increasing the prices and so on. Atomic Mass Games are increasing the prices just because of that. So,
yeah,
as I said, it's lots of companies actually coming now and wants to make products in Europe that want to do tariffs thingy because today is 55, tomorrow maybe 155. You never know.
exactly,
So,
exactly.
and that is killer. That is killer. So that's one of the reasons why we actually move entire manufacturing to Poland, including board games. So next year we should be making entire board game line just in Poland as well. So just to avoid anything unstable situations, like there is also unstable situation on the Pacific at the moment. On the other side, I mean. Taiwan and also China, you never know what happened. I mean, if something happened, all the transport would be blocked. And obviously, I'm assuming that you're not going to be able to buy anything from China. So anyway, because of that, this is how everything works.
Sure.
So
So it's nice to be able to control as much as you can,
yeah,
and I think that's what that allows you to do. Um,
yeah.
so as far as Starcraft the miniatures game, you mentioned a little bit about later this year. Do we have a rough like an estimated release date when people are going to be able to get their hands on this?
So yeah, pre-order going up towards the end of the year, and then what we plan to do is to have a shipping run about January, February, March. It all depends on the level of pre-orders, how much we're going to have to manufacture, and so on, so on. And the street date ideally would be 31st of March, which is the anniversary of StarCraft. So StarCraft release, StarCraft One release.
Oh, that
We'll
sounds
see.
great.
That's the kind of idea. But faster we're gonna get out, it's the street date will be cannot go beyond March basically. So
And that might actually sync up with Adepticon next year as
yeah,
well. So that would be a
yeah,
great place to launch. Yeah.
yeah. We're thinking about that one as
Okay,
well. So
wonderful. Well, that's really cool. So, I think that kind of wraps up most of my questions. Although I have tons more, which would probably go into things. Like, are you doing this unit? How is this unit going to work? And maybe a little too specific.
it's too
Um,
specific at
but
this
yeah,
stage.
but no, I'm very excited for this game. I can't wait to see more. Where can people learn more information? Where can they go if they want to follow all the latest news?
So there is a web page, so they can go on a web page which is Starcraft TMC Starcraft dash TMC.com, which
I'll
is
put it. I'll
the
put a link in the description below. Yeah.
That's great. So there's a blog post, and we're going to be updating blog post once we have more materials to show. Facebook page, and also I do like every 2 weeks I do AMA on YouTube channel. So sometimes I mention something about the StarCraft as well, but usually the AMA is all about. Well, if they ask some question about the StarCraft, I will obviously going to answer that
Hmm.
question. So yeah,
Oh, awesome.
that's the best way to actually get the answers from us. So yeah.
Very excited, and I know I want to plug. You guys have another game that I want to talk about just briefly. I know you can't say much, but for fans who are fans of like spaceship games and science fiction, and if you're a fan of StarCraft, you might like other space-based games. You guys have Starside that's also going to be more spaceship focused. That's also kind of in development, but I mean maybe a little further down the road. How's that one coming?
So it's really advanced at the moment. So we're already finishing the third faction of for the miniatures and models. Soon we're going to be revealing more. The gameplay and mechanic is already there. So just touching up now and polishing anything which is faction rules. I'm very excited for this game really because I always wanted to have a kind of space opera battle game in our portfolio, and that was it's kind of funny about us because we make all the models miniatures for other companies, but we have no our own war game. So
Yeah.
it's about time to actually have this type of games as well. But yeah,
Well,
um, I'm also a huge fan of X-wing. So X-wing being where it is at the moment at this stage, probably just
there's
gonna
there's
be
there's a gap for
yeah,
space based games I think right
yeah.
now, and so I'm really excited about it. I think a lot of people are looking for more options, and so that's one that I definitely have had my eye on. So
That's cool. Thank you. It's one of the. I mean, definitely once we more advanced, and we're happy to send you all the kind of materials, all the game,
I'd
and
be happy to to receive. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jarek, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with us today. It looks like there's a really exciting future for Archon Studio and for Starcraft and all of the cool things that we've talked about. Is there anything else you want to leave people with before we wrap it up?
No, that's it. Thank you very much as well. Thank you for having me, and thank you for inviting me for today's interview.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you guys so much. And thank you all who are watching at home. Big thanks to my patrons as well. If you want to learn more, check the links in the video description below. I will talk to you later. May the force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. And always wash your socks.